And so if you are not familiar with the YouTube channel Nick's Strength and Power, don't worry. Go to the channel Kenny KO, you'll find Nick's stuff there. And so this video is not meant to be disrespectful to Ronnie Coleman or indeed Nick in any way at all. Of course, the best wishes to Ronnie. And straight away to the person shouting at me, just let Ronnie do what he wants to do. Why are you talking about Ronnie? Do you really think that Ronnie Coleman, who won Mr. Olympia a gazillion times, cares what this little bold guy says on YouTube? This is a fantastic talking point in terms of debate and education towards training, because in so many of my videos I talk about training according to your needs, and one of those needs is your medical history. And here we have somebody who sadly had very poor health in relation to his back and his neck. And in addition, Ronnie is putting this content out to millions of people publicly. So of course he understands that people are going to watch and discuss what he is doing. Trying my best to get back in shape. Legs are tiny these days, but that doesn't stop me from trying to get them bigger. 12 spine surgeries has me down, but not out. Once a champion, always a champion. It's all about mindset. My record and my stats alone are enough for me to throw in the towel, but stats have nothing to do with wanting to be in shape, wanting to look good, wanting to be good no matter what. I know I don't have nothing to prove, but like I said, I want to look good, I want to be in great shape, I want to look like I still compete, I want to walk again. This is why I still train. I do it because I still love it, so I'll probably do it till I die. God knows I don't want to die in the gym, but if that happens, God bless me.
It was speculated that Ronnie Coleman might not ever be able to walk again, so to see him on a leg press machine really resonated with a lot of people, and a lot of people were upset to see him on the leg press, but a lot of people found it motivating to see that Ronnie Coleman was still able to go to the gym and get back to training despite the fact that he had these 12 major spinal surgeries, and that doctor said he possibly might not ever walk again.
And to any of Nick's fans who may not have seen me before, I'm the guy on YouTube with the wheel kick of fire. Don't take my word for it. Here are some testimonials from this community. And so I asked this question across my social media to this community about Ronnie's return, if you like, and the way he's training after having so many surgeries. And essentially, Ronnie Coleman, who was an elite bodybuilder, has had many, many surgeries on his spine, his back, his neck. I believe in excess of 10 surgeries. He really has a highly fragile back. And so that is the context of looking at his training. And so opinion was very split amongst this community so far. And I'm sure down in the comments there's going to be a real division of opinions on this. Some of you will say this is Ronnie Coleman, this is his mentality, he is training to get stronger and bigger, let Ronnie do what Ronnie does. There are going to be other people that are going to be on the side of longevity and say, well, hold on a minute, he could seriously hurt himself again. Now, my view always is going to be towards longevity and health and safety. That's always my priority. I'm very much focused on longevity and balance within my training. And so for Ronnie, I would most certainly, of course, want to see him physically improve his capabilities, but through a very calculated and planned rehabilitation program. And the reason I'm talking about Nick from Nick's Strength and Power is because he made this video. He's made a few videos now about Ronnie's return, and he did discuss it from many angles, to be fair. However, at the end of his second video, he kind of gave a summary of his thoughts, and this is what he said.
So yeah, I'm sure a lot of people will have their criticisms and have their negative things to say about the fact that Ronnie's training and how that might hinder his recovery or how that might make things worse. But I, for one, I think it's kind of cool to see Ronnie back in the gym. I'll be completely honest with you guys.
And so I take a slightly different angle to Nick, and I want to add some things to what he said in the first video, specifically relating to the leg press.
But if you notice, when they cut to Ronnie Coleman actually leg pressing, they don't show the weight that he's leg pressing. So I'm going to go off the assumption that Ronnie Coleman is not leg pressing a whole load of weight. He's probably leg pressing a pretty reasonable amount of weight with a pretty reasonable good form.
You cannot see how much weight Ronnie is pushing on the leg press. That is correct. However, we can look at the man's face. Now, looking at a man's face when he's training is not the perfect indicator of intensity. I understand that is not exactly scientifically valid. What we can say confidently is by looking at Ronnie on that leg press, he's most certainly having some considerable exertion there. Now, what I would say instantly is exercise selection. The 45-degree leg press, which can put extreme stress on the back, could he have used a leg press which was not at the 45-degree angle? And so that is something you can think about. In addition, we can mix in exercise execution. For someone like Ronnie, when he's training his back is highly vulnerable and fragile. And with the back row machine, we can look at exercise execution. And this is very much indicative of Ronnie's style of training, Perhaps you may liken it to the old school. You can see the intensity that these guys are putting into this session. Is this the strictest, most calculated form that Ronnie could put on his back in order to try and achieve longevity over time? And so those are the questions I want to put out there. I don't care how large his muscles are. Of course, some muscle increase will be beneficial to him, but he doesn't have to have some sort of aesthetic large muscle. My priority with him would always be longevity and him being able to perform basic physical daily activities and training towards them.
But for one, I think it's kind of cool to see Ronnie back in the gym. I'll be completely honest with you guys.
And so I slightly differ with Nick in terms of excitement, if you like, at the way that Ronnie is training. But that's understandable because Nick is very much in the bodybuilding world of reporting, and I'm very clearly not. But very seriously, my major problem with Nick are 6 words. Dylan, you son of a bitch. Next time you interview Arnold, Nick, that's what you need to say, son. And again, we can look at the bicep curl and perhaps some of the momentum he's using, and we can think about exercise selection and execution. And most certainly, my approach would be that this is not perhaps the smartest execution. I do err on the side of longevity. Don't know if err is a word. Let's just go with that. But again, this is not meant to be disrespectful to Ronnie. And of course, I wish him the best with his health.
And the discussion about Ronnie earlier this year and really late 2018 was actually whether or not Ronnie Coleman would ever be able to walk again. So it's actually kind of encouraging to see him back in the gym, looking to have put some size back on, and also leg pressing. Probably an encouraging sign that he might in fact be able to walk again. Now, the one thing that a lot of people were sending this video to me and saying was, well, here he goes again, because a lot of people said the last time that he had surgery, a major reason for that was the fact that he was in the gym despite doctors telling him not to be. So a lot of people that were sending this to me, and a lot of the comments that I saw were people saying, oh, here he goes again, training heavy, training stupid, he's going to hurt himself again. Now, I don't actually think that's the case, because in this video, you do see his training partner, Big J, from Big J's Extreme Fitness, leg pressing a pretty significant amount of weight. But if you notice, when they cut to Ronnie Coleman actually leg pressing, they don't show the weight that he's leg pressing.
And so I want to insert a bit of science into this video, and specifically intensity. And in the last video on the training mask, I referenced rate of perceived exertion, which is a subjective way of choosing how much weight you are using in your set. Now, when we look at intensity, we can look at quotes such as this to help explain it. The key is not how much absolute weight or resistance is used, but whether the overload is relative to the individual's current strength level and whether the muscle can fatigue within the goal repetition framework. And so intensity does not refer to beast mode. We have more objective methods, such as the percentage of how much you can lift for a specific exercise, and then we have more subjective methods. And these different models, essentially they have advantages and disadvantages to them. I don't like to compare them in terms of better or worse. I just like to think of them as different with different benefits and disadvantages. Now, when it comes to the more subjective way of choosing how much weight you lift, essentially going on your feelings, rate of perceived exertion is a very decent starting point. And this originally had 20 points on the scale developed by Borg. And so what you do is you judge, if you like, based on your feelings, how hard the set was with the weight you were using. However, the scale has been adapted, and now very commonly we have 10 points of reference. But immediately a limitation that you'll notice is you're going based off your feelings. Of course, you may misjudge that. Of course, there's a level of ambiguity to that. What exactly does moderate mean? What does hard mean? Of course, there is the potential for people to misjudge their intensity using these more subjective methods. But what it does do is give you more flexibility and adaptability, as it allows you for the individualization, that's easy for me to say, in a session and across different exercises to perhaps adjust to many variables. For example, one of them may be how you are performing that day. And as a side note, it's not as simple as saying RPE, rate of perceived exertion, is this. Different coaches within exercise science and strength and conditioning, etc., will have different variations of this model, and they will have different philosophies. So within each concept, where we have more objective ways of measuring intensity and more subjective, within those models, there is again a vast branching off of ideas and philosophy. So just be aware of that. And most certainly, when you're using RPE, you would then progressively overload over time to achieve, for example, muscle hypertrophy. And we do have further models such as the reps in reserve model, initially developed by Terscherer and taken taken on by Dr. Eric Helms, which looks at how many more repetitions you think you could have done. And I will talk about that in more depth in future videos. And so I really want to know your thoughts on this. I understand this will divide opinion. I understand this is an emotional topic, and absolutely this video is intended to be respectful. I want to read your comments and your feedback. I also want to develop my understanding of what he's doing. And there are some very smart bastards in this community who I'm sure will enlighten me. So thank you very much for watching. I'm James Linker, Shredder Sports Science. I'll see you soon.